in everybody that I've spoken to about this kind of explosion with the waves, everybody that I've interviewed and spoken to that have come here, so we're talking, you think of, we both know Mike Prickett, Garrett. I've met a couple of the American guys, and you said something earlier in our conversation about adapting to the rhythm of a place and understanding that this is different and there's something else here. And I get the feeling that everybody that's come to Nazaré has understood that, and that have been respectful, and they've, tried to integrate and connect with local people. And I think when the local people feel this, it's something that they won't be opposed to. It's something that they'll celebrate, and it's something that they will, champion. And I think that's also important. I think it's important the way you guys have come in and not being like, okay, we're separate to all of this, or we're above all of this. No, we're part of this, and we want to be part of this. And you're basically living in Nazaré. So I think that's also a big part of how that's all worked out.
There's one thing to keep in mind with Nazaré, and I guess there's plenty of areas like that in Portugal. It it's a fishing town, and even without the surfing and the big wave surfing, when it comes to summertime, there's a lot of tourists coming to Nazaré. I think the place can go up to 120,000 people or something like that
Exactly.
in January, August. But winter time, those guys, they used to be there by themselves,
Yeah.
and they have their own sustainability. They can provide pretty much everything they need on a daily basis. But at some point they have, as you say, they have to adapt a lot. And when it comes to fishing or it comes to the ocean, nothing is easy. So those people can be pretty rough because they have to when they're facing the element. What I realized quickly in Nazaré, if you treat the people in Nazaré, first thing first, everybody in Nazaré is super welcoming. There's
Yeah.
not a place where I arrive at some point and I felt like, oh, I wasn't welcome.
Yeah.
Everybody's super helpful. And if you treat the people from Nazaré well, if you do it well with an open-minded and you realize what they're doing for you, it's going to be great and the best experience for your life.
Yeah.
But at some point, you start messing around with those people. You're facing people, who used to like a really rough element to a much life pretty rough at winter time also. So
Yeah.
they're gonna be like fully honest with you and tell you, okay, look, man, you're not welcome anymore. Please go out. If you need that, you're not gonna get it from us, etc., etc. So the waves are humbling, the ocean is humbling, but people in Nazaré also can be super humbling, and they know how to do it. It's obviously it doesn't last forever. It's only like 10 or 15 minutes, but if you mess with people in Nazaré,
They're tough.
you will, yeah, you will realize pretty soon you're not welcome anymore. So and that's something I like. There's that talk about the Nazaré locals when at first when you arrive in Nazaré, you probably don't realize it because a lot of people speak English. There's a lot of French. There's a lot of Brazilian people from all over the place. So that proper melting pot. But if you look closely, Nazaré locals are ruling the place literally, and they're running that ecosystem and make it that great thing it is, and everybody like and enjoy it. So it's important to respect that.
Yeah. And I think that's where it's interesting that like you mentioned earlier, that it's not a peniche, where everything has become about the surf. It's not an Eliseda. It's okay, the surf is part of us, but there's a culture here, there's a thing here that's been here for a lot longer than these waves, and we're not going to change. And I think that's what's been so beautiful and fascinating about Nazaré is it's become one of the top 5 searched for locations in Portugal because of these waves, but Nazaré hasn't changed in terms of, the core. And you still have Carnival, which will never go away. You still have the traditional festas, you still got the beach soccer, the football that happens every year. And there's those things there where it's still Nazaré, and it's still got the authenticity and the spirit of Nazaré hasn't changed, which I think is wonderful.